The Rock Never Stops. Today, we continue our series on ranking the Detroit Pistons' Big Four in terms of where do they fall at their respective positions in the NBA for this upcoming 2025-26 NBA season. Now, I know a lot of us are excited. A lot of us are very optimistic. But I think after looking at the Ringer's top 100 ranking, I was a little thrown off because I thought that our guys were a lot better. Then, beginning this series, starting with Jaden Ivey, ended up ranking 15th in terms of top shooting guards, which is pretty good considering that he was out half the year last year during potentially a breakout year. Asar Thompson ended up ranking, if I recall, at number 21. That was really good considering that he was out towards the end of that second year and didn't come back until almost halfway through last season. Now, Jalen Duren for the center position. We have him ranked currently, after our discussion yesterday, at number 20 in terms of top centers. But I don't think this is where they end. And that is why we're doing part two. Part two is to discuss where we think they are going to rank by the end of the 2025-26 NBA season. Remember, these guys, let me pull up the exact ages because I think it might surprise a lot of you. Wrong one. Jalen Duren is 21 years old. Asar Thompson is 22. Jaden Ivey is 23 years old. These guys are nowhere near their prime, which is why it's very important that we can also accept that they're still getting better. And they've all shown more than enough flashes for us to be very optimistic about their outlook. So, this is where we get into the conversation. This is where we take our projections, our outlooks, our suspicions, concerns, all of it, throw it on the table. What do we think the upcoming 2025-26 NBA season is going to look like for Mr. Jalen Duren? All right, but before I dive in, definitely smash the like button for me. Hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. It's a small thing, but it's a big thing. Really helps out with the channel when you hit that like button. But without further ado, let's get started. Jalen Duren. Some of the things that I had to be honest about. Some of the things that I had to be honest about is one, that he's been highly unreliable. Highly unreliable. And when I say unreliable, it's not in terms of his talent. It's not in terms of what he showed flashes or the ability to do. It is what he has consistently done. Jalen Duren has consistently been unavailable for the most part. Not due to injury, but due to foul trouble. Think Jaren Jackson Jr., right? Why did Jaren Jackson Jr. have such a, I don't want to say small contract, because I wouldn't say it's a small contract, but I would say that it is a contract that would not be respective of a defensive player of the year level player, a all-star level player. And it's one that I think he's looking to definitely increase after this upcoming season. He's currently getting paid $35 million a year at 25 years old. And he's been the anchor for that defense. He's been the anchor for this team. Its second best player. Well, the big difference between him and Jalen Duren is I don't think that Jalen Duren has anchored anything for the Detroit Pistons. Not even the center position. If we're honest, I think that calling goes to Mr. Isaiah Stewart. Beef Stew. Mr. Stew. Mr. Big. The guy who's the enforcer. The guy who turns people away at the rim, shakes the finger. Guys who others are intimidated to even attack the rim. And when they dare do, many times sends them back packing. If you aren't the one who even anchors your own position, we've got to ding you a little bit. If you're the starter and your backup anchors your position, there's a problem. Now, let's keep in mind, Jalen Duren is only 21 years old, right? Isaiah Stewart, I want to say, pull it up here. How old is Isaiah Stewart? Come on, baby. Work with me, not against me. Isaiah Stewart is only 24 years old. So here's the thing. If you have Isaiah Stewart at 15 million, great team contract. Jalen Duren is only about a couple inches taller. Very skilled, very talented. But if you're having your backup who's only 24 years old on a great deal, anchor your position, it also diminishes the value of that starting position. These are things that I think not only are noteworthy, but also I expect to see Jalen Duren rectify next season. The other thing that I had to look at is throughout his unavailability due to foul trouble, Jalen Duren was in foul trouble over 20 times last season. That means 5 or more fouls by the end of the game. He either had 5 fouls, heavily in foul trouble, or he just fouled out 20 times last season. Now, I look at how many times did he have, let's say, scoring outbursts that he's proven that, hey, he can potentially be an anchor on the offensive end. Well, he only crossed the 20-point threshold 4 times last season. 4 times. And this is really concerning when you think about he was in an extension eligible year. If he had every incentive to come in last season and have a great year and get his extension. Mind you, mind you, other players like Jabari Smith Jr., who I would say has continued to struggle a bit offensively, right? But defensively has been very consistent, has been a stalwart for his team. Let me pull up what he is currently extended at. Jabari Smith Jr. Contract extension, 5 year, 122 million. That's just under 25 million a year. So this is a guy in your same draft year, extension eligible year, had some injury issues, right? Has been in and out of the starting lineup. And he's signing for 5 years, 122 million. This begins to give us a range of Jalen Duren's value. It just does. Now, I don't necessarily think that Jalen Duren agrees that that's where his value is, but you have to concede that Jabari Smith Jr. is only a year older than him, has averaged more minutes, has averaged a whole lot less fouls, also shoots the 3 ball, right? Pretty well. 36% last season, the season before last, 35.5% this past season. He still rebounds, giving you 7 to 8 rebounds a game, excellent on defense, and he's averaged more points. This is about the range of Jalen Duren. But the thing is, I think he thinks he's probably valued a lot more closer to Alperen Şengün, who recently got a $33+ million contract extension. Well, let's take a look at what he was averaging at 23 years old, going into year three. His extension eligible year, played 32 and a half minutes. He averaged 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.2 steals, only 3.3 fouls, and 21 points per game. 21 points per game. 21 averaged for the season. 21 points per game. Now let's take a look at how many times did he cross that 20-point threshold. I'm just going to pull it up and count because this is how we factor in somebody's worth. And if Jalen Duren is going to be betting on himself, could project in terms of what we think he's going to be able to do next season. When I look at how many times he crossed the 20-point threshold in his contract extension year, the season before last, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 30 point, 7, 8, 30 point, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 30 plus point, 16, 30 plus point, 17, 18, 19, 20, 30 plus point, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 30 plus points, 36, 37, That's another 30 plus point. 38, another 30 plus. You get the drift. He even sprinkled in a 45 pointer before he went out injured. When we think about guys who are valued in the way that maybe Jalen Duren sees his value, what they produce, what they produce, their ability to impact and impose their will on the game is at that level. That's the level. If Jalen Duren is betting on himself, I think that's the type of productivity that we see. Now, I don't think he'll get to a 40 plus point. Who knows? Who knows? I wouldn't be shocked if there's a bunch of 30-point games. But I also am anticipating plenty of 20 plus point games, considering that he only had 4 last season. I think we see him cross that threshold far more likely than not. I think he probably has close to, I would say, 25 to 35 20 plus point games. I think his averages jump to 16 to 18 in terms of points per game. I think we see a far more offensively aggressive player. Also think we see a guy who's just committed to not getting into foul trouble, to not fouling out, being maximally available for his team and for his coach to close out games, to be able to make big plays when they matter the most instead of his backup making those big plays when they matter the most and proving that he can anchor that center position. Now, some other things that I keep in mind is that the center position is only getting bigger. They are drafting bigs like back in the day, 7-footers. Now, I know we haven't seen that many potentially superstar level centers outside of maybe Victor Wembanyama coming to the league over the past, 10 years, right? Embiid, yeah, but he's always hurt. So let's take him off the table. You got Evan Mobley. I think we see him as a star, maybe not as a superstar. Far more Kevin Garnett than we're thinking Tim Duncan or Shaquille O'Neal, right? And then we have Victor Wembanyama, right? Reminds us a lot of Ralph Sampson, right? We're hoping Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That's who we're hoping. That's who we are projecting as. But outside of that, not too many superstars, but big nonetheless. Why is that relevant? Jalen Duren is 6'10". He's 6'10". Matched up against the New York Knicks. Rarely did they go to that double big lineup. I think it would have helped them. Mitchell Robinson at 7'2", 7'7" wingspan. Very athletic, mobile. Karl Anthony Towns, 7 feet tall, 7'3" wingspan, extremely mobile. You can go to Portland. You can go to Milwaukee. You can go to most of these teams who have that double big lineup. Most of these teams are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, almost monstrous. Having an undersized center means that he has to validate that not only can he hold his own, but that he can impose his will on the game to make up for the lack of size. Think of somebody like Ivica Zubac. He's had a long career in the NBA and has been a starter most of his career. Ivica Zubac, on the fringe of being an all-star last season. I want to just pull up his stats real quick, just for conversation's sake. Ivica Zubac is getting paid about 18, 19, and 20 million over the next 3 years. At 28 years old, keep in mind, he's about 7 feet 7'1", 7 feet without shoes. About 7'1" or more with shoes. Played 80 games last season, 33 minutes per game. Averaged 16 and 12. The year before that, 12 and 9, 11 and 10, right? These are the stats that Jalen Duren is putting up currently. And Ivica Zubac, who I think I have ranked above Jalen Duren in terms of productivity, he's at a place where he is looking to get paid more. And yet, the guy that's probably valued above him is getting paid less. Next season, I think we see a Jalen Duren who's looking to prove himself. I'll keep it short and sweet. Jalen Duren is looking to prove that he is not only a starting level center, that he's a potential all-star level center. I think he is. I think he is, but he's got to prove it. And that's where the conversation starts for us. Going into this upcoming season, going into this upcoming year, where do we think Jalen Duren actually lands? Where does he end by the end of the season? Well, when I look at my list, some of the things that I'm also considering is who are the people above him that may be stepping back, may be regressing as they age, as they have more or less of a workload on them. And so I want to go through the list and look at players that he could potentially leapfrog. One, I would start with Bam Adebayo. I think he's making more of a permanent shift towards the power forward position, in which case, I don't think next year we rank him as a center. I know he plays center every once in a while, but similar to Anthony Davis, just because you can doesn't mean that that's what's best suited for you long term or even what you want. Now that the Miami Heat have Khalil Ware, a very athletic, young, promising stretch center, looking like a more springier, more agile Miles Turner, far more aggressive too. I think that Khalil Ware gets a big jump in his minutes, played at center, gets into the 20s, close to 30. And I think Bam Adebayo is pretty much removed off of this list. So that's someone he can move up a little bit. Joel Embiid, I don't think the injuries get better. I'm not even sure he still wants to play. I don't want to question his love for the game. I'm also evaluating just how much pain can somebody consistently play through. Pain is real. And when you are persistently year after year after year playing through pain, significant, severe pain, having to deal with injuries, surgeries year after year after year, at a certain point, remember, he came into the league dealing with injuries and surgeries and recovering and rehab. He might be at a point where he might be close to just about done. I would not be shocked if he retired. I would not be shocked. I would understand. I wouldn't even hold it against him. But all that's to say is I wouldn't be shocked if Joel Embiid also slides down this list. Now, some other guys. Ivaka Zubac. Can he repeat his 16 points per game? I don't know. Potentially, especially playing next to James Harden, who's a pick and roll master. And Ivaka Zubac is only 28 years old. I think there's a good chance that he's able to repeat that scoring output. But when you look at where he is on the totem pole of his team, behind Kawhi, behind Bradley Beal, behind James Harden, he's an important piece, but not necessarily a centerpiece of that offense. There's a good chance that he has a small regression. But if Jalen Duren takes a big jump, I think we will see him as a greater part of this team's outlook. And as a result, he might slide above him in the ranking. Keep in mind, the Los Angeles Clippers also signed Brook Lopez, who's an excellent stretch center who can still score on the interior and block shots at the rim. He is older at 37 years old, but I do think that Brook Lopez eats into some of Zubac's minutes. Zubac got up to around 30 minutes a game last season and played 80 games, which is huge. It was huge for them. I also think that Brook Lopez takes some of those minutes, gets close to somewhere around 20 minutes per game. Also impacts the scoring and the defense in ways that he might even close out games instead of Zubac. Because if he can shoot threes from deep behind the 3-point line, he stretches out defenses in a way that I think opens things up for Kawhi Leonard, Bradley Beal, and James Harden in a way that they didn't really experience last year, especially going into the playoffs. So I wouldn't be shocked if there's a regression there as well. I look at Miles Turner, who had a horrible playoff run, had some sparse moments, but nothing even close to making us forget about the disappearing acts and the regression in terms of his output throughout the course of the playoffs. In Milwaukee, considering he's depending upon a younger point guard, athletic, talented one, extremely talented. But I don't think that Kevin Porter Jr. is necessarily ready to make people better in that way. Playing next to Giannis, I think he gets more space and more open looks. But we'll see where he lands. I can still see myself if Jalen Duren has that 16 to 18 point per game, 10 to 12 rebound type of output with about 4 assists, I would rank him above Miles Turner as well. Jarrett Allen, similarly, I think as Evan Mobley gets stronger and stronger, begins to impose his will more and more, I think Jarrett Allen is probably the first domino to fall in terms of a trade next season if they can't get out of that second round, if they can't get into the Eastern Conference Finals at least, if not the NBA Finals. I think they see that, well, they got guys like DeAndre Hunter, and they have other guys who can do close enough to what Jarrett Allen does, and maybe just enough offense, maybe floor spacing to allow Evan Mobley to move into that full-time center position that I think we all agree that he's best suited for. So I wouldn't be shocked if Jarrett Allen takes a step back as well. Jakob Poeltl, he is the incumbent center of the Toronto Raptors. I think he has a bounce back year. I think he holds on to that position pretty strong, even though he won't be a centerpiece for that team. Isaiah Hartenstein, Wendell Carter Jr. as well. These are all guys that I potentially see Jalen Duren leapfrogging. I think by the end of the season, and you all let me know what you think in the chat. Where does Jalen Duren land by the end of next season? By the end of next season, I think Jalen Duren probably lands somewhere around 13, between 10 and 13 in the rankings. That's where I see Jalen Duren landing with an output of something around 16 to 18 points per game, 10 to 12 rebounds, close to 2 blocks, 3 to 4 assists. I think we see Jalen Duren far more aggressive, getting to the free throw line far more, which I think is where his greatest jump is going to come. I think we're going to see that jumper that we've talked about for a long time, that if he begins hitting his jumper, is going to bode extremely well for him, and especially in terms of his long-term outlook. If he's knocking down that 18-footer, getting to the free throw line more, being far more aggressive and not getting into foul trouble, yeah, I think we're going to rank him pretty high. He's a great athlete, very skilled, and I think it's time that he starts proving it. And now in a contract year, he has every incentive to do exactly that. And if he doesn't, if his year is looking pretty pedestrian, basic, something of what he did last year, 2 to 3 years within that contract, him outplaying it drastically. But as always, I want to know what you all think. Didn't get as much of you in the chat telling me what you think his stats are going to be to continue the conversation. So I'm probably going to wrap it up just about here. Where do you think Jalen Duren lands by the end of the season next year? I think it's going to be somewhere around uh, between 10 and 13. What do you think his stat line is going to be? I've already given mine: 16 to 18 points per game, 10 to 12 rebounds, 1.5 to 2 blocks per game, maybe 3 to 4 assists. But most importantly, he stays out of foul trouble. And he's far more aggressive, getting to the free throw line and shows off a little bit of a jump shot, 16 to 18 footer. But as always, I want to know what you all think. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button for me. It's a little thing, but it's a big thing on this channel. Hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. And I'm going to get at y'all next time. Peace.